Ferrari's flagship car, the SF90, follows the familiar pattern of being eye-catchingly good-looking, eye-openingly quick, and eye-wateringly expensive. But despite being the quickest and most powerful production Ferrari ever built, there are those out there who think the SF90 shouldn't exist. The SF90 is the first Ferrari flagship since the F40 not to feature a V12. It's also the first plug-in hybrid Ferrari, the first all-wheel drive mid-engine Ferrari, the first Ferrari to feature brake-by-wire technology, and the first Ferrari to feature electronic steering. Oh, and it can do this. All of these elements are impressive, but the question is, do they belong on a flagship Ferrari? A car which is meant to be a driver's car, offering unfettered performance unencumbered by the trappings of luxury. A car which is meant to, which has to, drive like a Ferrari. Now, of course, this is the SF90 Spider, which honestly looks so much better than the Coupe, and that is something I never thought I'd hear myself saying about a drop-top supercar. These stanchions, in place of the Coupe's raked rear lid, add drama and purpose to what is otherwise kind of a busy design area. Up front, the central intake cools the front E motors, while the intakes on either side are for feeding and cooling the V8 engine. In service of optimizing not only performance but also efficiency, Ferrari engineers worked hard, logging double the amount of wind tunnel hours as they did with LaFerrari. All this extra toil has paid dividends though, as the SF90 is now the most aerodynamically efficient car they make. This is pretty cool. So in normal low drag mode, air flows up over the cabin and exits here in this vent between the taillights. Then, in high downforce mode, the central element of the wing drops down and stops the flow, effectively creating a giant gurney flap. The patented system is set to develop 860 pounds of downforce at 186 miles an hour. On the inside, the SF90 debuts a largely new interior, including a gear selector made to look like the gated shifters of old, and a digital dash and suite of screens for pretty much everything. Seriously, if you like pointless little screens, you're going to love the SF90's interior. The SF90's hybrid powertrain comprises a mid-mounted 4-litre twin-turbocharged V8 capable of 769 horsepower. In addition to which, we have a mid-mounted battery pack, and not one, not two, but 3 electric motors. One E-motor is mounted between the engine and the new 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission, and has a peak output of 157 horsepower. The 2 other E-motors are up front, one powering each wheel, and are capable of 97 horsepower at their peak. Their outputs have been limited somewhat to work in harmony with the V8, but still, for those of you who have been keeping count, that adds up to a frankly ridiculous 986 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. I mean, that's just crazy. So, whilst it's all EV business up front, it is most definitely still V8 party time in the back. In our testing, the SF90 Coupe rocketed from 0 to 60 miles an hour in just 2.1 seconds. It completed a quarter mile in a remarkable 9.6 seconds at 145.2 miles an hour. It just defies belief, this car. It really, really is unbelievable. This Spider version weighs about 220 pounds more than the Coupe, at a Ferrari claimed 3,682 pounds. So expect the times of this car to be maybe a tenth or so behind the Coupe. Still, that is a mightily impressive time, especially for a convertible. top speed, not that I'm going to achieve it today, is a dizzying 211 miles an hour. What a rocket ship! Oh my God! The electronic steering feels like a finely tuned race car. Everything works in unison, with the most minimal driver input turned into a precise and predictable output. I've got screens everywhere I look in this cockpit. I've got software doing all the hard work for me. But you know what? None of it matters. Because the net gain is that I'm a driving god. Oh. How on earth have Ferrari taken what is essentially a 14-year-old chassis and breathed new life into it? How have they taken a 10-year-old V8, which was already at what we assumed was the maximum power output that it could give us, and just eke more and more out of it? They have done a remarkable job. It is so easy to drive this car. It really shouldn't be this easy to be catapulted through the countryside. Oh, listen! Time to answer our keystone question. Does this car drive like a Ferrari? Well, if you haven't guessed by now, from the way I have been gleefully exclaiming, yes, it absolutely does. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? Now, you may think that a car with a 4-litre V8 wouldn't be very efficient, right? Wrong. Thanks to its hybrid tech, the SF90, a hypercar, will do an EPA-verified 51 miles per gallon when in hybrid mode, which is remarkable. But the most remarkable thing is that it can do this. Fully electric. Fully electric in a Ferrari. An electric front-wheel drive Ferrari. The world has gone absolutely mad. Now, with a range of only 15 miles and a top speed of 80, you're hardly likely to use it all that often. But I think it speaks volumes that Ferrari felt the need to make this a feature of their flagship car. Okay, that's enough of that. That's better. Ain't no replacement for displacement, baby. I think that's an Italian phrase. Io sono no displacementi para displacementi. For a car with so many electronical aids, the all-wheel drive, the electronic steering, the brake-by-wire system, you'd think that as a driver you'd be slightly intimidated. You wouldn't quite know when and where to push the car with the lack of physical feedback, but you'd be dead wrong. Every single element of this car is working in unison and in harmony to get me down the road as quickly and as safely as possible. All this hybrid tech, the engine in conjunction with the rear electric motor pushed me down the straights. And these two electric front motors pull me around the corners. Traction control kicking in there. I could turn it off, but honestly, I'm having far more fun knowing that it's there to save me should anything go awry. Oh. Really, this is Ferrari back, I think, at the top of the tree. The 458, the 488, they were both fantastic, but they were constantly being bested by that plucky little upstart, McLaren. The LaFerrari was incredible, but the 918 was better. However, with SF90, Ferrari have sized up the competition and then completely taken them to school. They have nailed the hybrid stuff and hit the right numbers without stripping the soul out of the car. It's clinical, but it's unmistakably Ferrari. There's no place for sentimentality when you're trying to make the best car. To say that this is not a flagship Ferrari just because it utilizes the latest and greatest technology is doing a disservice not only to this car but to every flagship Ferrari to have come before it. What Ferrari have done is made a flagship for the 21st century. And right now, this car is in a league of its own. Because if you have the technology, the ingenuity and the engineering prowess to make a car that's quicker, faster and more competitive, you do it. That's what it means to be a Ferrari. And this might just be the most comprehensive flagship Ferrari ever made.